What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. FantasyTeamAdvisors.com, bringing them the bacon NFL DFS video. This is going to be a week 2 breakdown. So we tried something new. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. Hopefully it is helpful for you. If it is, let me know. This, as of now, this is a free tool, and it'll be free for a few weeks, and we'll see how the videos do. If we get a lot of likes on the videos, we'll continue to keep them free. But I wanted to break this down as easy as I possibly could. Again, though, with football, it's a little more inclusive than it is with MLB because you've got you got the one starting pitcher and then you got the bats. With football, a lot of things can happen. So we had a different matchup tool. People were asking a ton of questions, getting kind of confused about it. So we're going to try something new. We've added a few more tabs to the NFL tab here. Projected ownership, then the player projections, the fantasy points allowed per position. So just looking at this, like the ownership. So this is the ownership through here. DraftKings and FanDuel, you can see the player and how much they, predicted to be owned all the way down. You can check all of that out. That's very helpful for tournaments and stuff like that. Same thing with on FanDuel. So got the same pricing, got the matchup, the position. So if you want to go through and you want to sort it by, just sort it by QB and you go through here, there you go. That's on the main slate. So these are all, like, the stuff's all on the main slate. So breaking stuff down like this, hopefully it's very helpful. And I'm sorry for my voice. I woke up this morning and it was just gone out of nowhere. So I was fine yesterday and I woke up and it's just completely gone. Another portion is fantasy points allowed per position, so DraftKings and FanDuel. So this is kind of the part of the matchup tool that we had, and it's simpler to read and look at. Now, this is obviously through 1 week. This will be updated every single week, but if you want to go you're trying to find out who the best quarterback might be on the slate, the Chargers rank last against the quarterback and last against the wide receiver. That's because they went up against Tyreek Hill and Tua last week. So these numbers are a little bit skewed. They will be updated, every single week, and I think it'll be more, easier to follow, and you kind of get a feel for the trend once you get through 5 weeks of the season or so, maybe 4 weeks, to kind of see really where the Chargers are. So, like the Chargers right now, they're terrible in one game. They could have a good start this week. That's just kind of what we have to expect when we're building stuff out like that. So, you can see it's versus the quarterback, how many fantasy points on DraftKings they gave up last week against the ranking here. Same thing with running back, wide receiver, and tight end. So this is another free tool for you. Just go to NFL tab and then the NFL points allowed by position. That is there. Then we got this. This is the matchup tool. Now it's really, there's a lot of information, so it's very hard to see. So if you go all the way to the bottom of it and you click this button right here, it'll open it up into a full a full screen, and then it'd be easier to go down to like 80% so you can see. The problem is I don't know if you guys can see it on the screen at 80%, but I kind of want to just go through it. So this is every single game. Actually, if you want to look, and another thing we have, NFL, we've got our chalk, we've got our Vegas odds. So these are the Vegas odds, and you can look at it, you can sort it however you want. I think I'm going to incorporate the Vegas odds into this next week. I'm trying to figure out how to do it best. So that will be that. But this brings, and again, you're going to see some players that are on here that had a really good week 1 or players that didn't touch the ball at all, and you can kind of see that when you go through everything. So that is on there. If you want to look at the Vegas numbers, you can see the Bills have the most implied points at 26.89 with an over-under of 47.5. So you can just go through. This is what it opened with. This is the current number. And you can go down through here and kind of check out what to expect. So Vegas is expecting Dallas Cowboys defense to dominate yet again, and they're probably going to be a very popular defense to take on this main slate. So that being said, just go through and, if you want to go with the higher over-unders and you want to target those games for DFS, they're thinking the Chiefs at the Jags. I could see both sides of this. Bills at the Raiders. I could see both sides of this as well. They think the Lions are going to do pretty good against Seahawks. It should be a close game at 50.5. over-unders what it opened with it, and now they're at 47. So you can go all the way down. Obviously, if Vegas is good at what they do, which they normally are, except getting hacked this week apparently, you would look at some of these defenses. I think the Browns' defense against Kenny Pickett could be I think you could save some money there instead of the Cowboys. I feel confident about that. So that being said, go check out FantasyTeamAdvisors.com and the Vegas numbers there. So here's our matchup tool. This is the matchup. So each game is on here. We've got Atlanta and Green Bay. It's got all the players. It's got their positions. It's got their salary. See, you can't see that. Let me put it up to 100%, and we can just do team by team. So hopefully this helps you out. This does not take into effect any weather right now. That is into effect when we do the projections. That is into effect when we kind of look at everything. So this is Saturday. Obviously, some of these, there's still walkthroughs going on Saturday. That will be that. I think I'm going to start doing this matchup video as long as I can. This is done early in the week. Try to get out as early as possible. Obviously, we've got it doesn't take into effect any injury reports or anything like that. We will have our rankings updated every Sunday morning. We update the rankings, so definitely make sure you check it out. So Atlanta's offense, just looking at the offense. This does not take into effect defenses, but you can kind of see the snap percentages. 1 week, obviously, rushing percentages, target percentages, DVP, so the defense against the position. So this is kind of encompasses our points allowed per position on the other tab, ownership percentage, and then projections for both. So these will all be updated. If you have questions, let us know. Try to answer them for you. Again, if you've never been to FantasyTeamAdvisors.com, you can go right now. If this video gets 50 likes, someone will win a free week of DFS content. If this video gets 100 likes, someone will win a free month. 125 likes, someone will win a free year. And if any video gets 150 likes, someone will win a lifetime pass to FantasyTeamAdvisors.com. So definitely check that out. We do that for all of our videos. So we have so many giveaways. So we're very excited about that. So if this video gets at least 50 likes, when we do the next video, someone will win, just like we do on baseball. So that being said, looking at this, the offense, you don't know what you're going to get out of Atlanta. Desmond Ridder, he's doing okay. Green Bay in one game. So obviously these numbers are skewed with only one game under their belt. They ranked 12th against the quarterback position. And then you had Bijan Robinson, who played 63% of the snaps last week, while Tyler Algier, that no one was on, was at 55%. And Algier had more rushing percentage. He did have less targets, but he had touchdown. He had 2 touchdowns. He had a ton of yards last week. Ownership right around 3 to 5%. I think people are going to be chasing the Tyler Algier from last week. That could be a problem. My problem is Drake London had 90% of the snaps last week. He did nothing. Absolutely nothing. And Green Bay ranks 12th against the wide receivers. So looking at the wide receivers, that's the problem. With an offense like this, if the run game is going strong, they're just going to continue to run it. If they're down a lot, they'll throw it. But if they don't make contact, they might dump off a ton of passes to Robinson and Algier, and that's kind of what you're looking at. Tight ends, you can see that Jonnu Smith was on the snaps. Just because they're on the snaps doesn't mean anything. He was on 50% of the snaps last game, 0% rush, 0% targets. Nothing there. They're pretty good against tight end in 1 week. So honestly, the players that you could use for Atlanta, I don't think I'd be using Desmond Ridder, to be honest. I think you could probably use both of the running backs. Well, Cordarrelle Patterson is a joker, whatever the hell that means. But he, 0 snaps last week. Drake London did 90%. Didn't do anything with it. So that's kind of the Atlanta side of the ball. I don't really like Atlanta that much this week. Green Bay, Jordan Love had a fantastic game last week. Atlanta's defense was 17th against the quarterback. Aaron Jones has a hamstring problem, hasn't really practiced this week, and now we kind of see the effects of that, whether or not that's going to be A.J. Dillon. Aaron Jones came out and said that if if the game was closer and it wasn't such a blowout, he would have been in the game. But then he didn't practice much this week. So this is kind of what to expect. Aaron Jones has a really good game, and then if he gets hurt, A.J. Dillon could come in, or A.J. Dillon comes in and doesn't do a lot. So it really depends. There's just other options I think I like more than I hit the space bar. Just other options I like more than Green Bay offense, really, because you've got Christian Watson, which I believe he is out again this week, or he's trending towards being out. So kind of just looking at that, let me see. And now, depending on when you watch this video, this news might have already dropped. He might be out, he might be questionable, might be game time decision. The game time decisions I really hate for NFL, because you really have no idea what you're going to get. So let's see real quick what Watson is doing. He's questionable right now. He did practice on Friday. It really depends. I don't know. He's not going to be 100%. If he is, obviously we love him there. Jaden Reed here had I believe Jaden Reed had a good week 1 where, no, he didn't. He was 3,000, had 2 receptions for 48 yards on 5 targets. Did rush the ball once. So a lot of people were on him because he was super cheap. And looking at that, he ran more snaps than Dobbs that people were on. So you don't know what you're going to get out of this offense week to week. You could look at this tight end. It's kind of crazy. Musgrave was on 75% of the snaps last week, had 14% of the targets. So yeah, I mean, you can see, hopefully this is a ton of information for you. And just kind of looking at this, that's kind of what we're looking at. So give me 1 second, and then we'll go through this. And then towards the end of this video, or the middle of the video, I'm going to talk about some of the stacks that we like on this week. Okay, so we're going to go through just the game by game, and then we'll look at what we like. So there's a few stacks that I really like this week. I think there's going to be a couple of bounce back stacks, and I think there's going to be other things that we could take advantage of in week 2. So looking at this, honestly, there's just other games that I kind of like. Atlanta at Green Bay, just kind of looking. Let's look. Where's the Falcons? So an over-under 40.5. So it's kind of low. If you look and you sort it by largest, 40.5 is right in the middle towards the end. 38.5, 39, 39.5, 40. It's just one of those games where it might be one-offs that we could target, but I don't know how many we're actually going to want to target there. So in this game, the players that I would target would be Robinson, Algier, maybe Drake London. As many snaps as he did, he really didn't do anything last week, which is crazy. This game, obviously, if Jones is out or incapacitated at all this week, A.J. Dillon would walk in there. But other than that, I don't really like much in this game. So Buffalo is going to be the one where I think so we've got Josh Allen as one of the top quarterbacks of the week. So looking at him, I know he had 3 interceptions last week. He did not do well, but I'm back on the Josh Allen train. We know how good they are. I fully expect Josh Allen to come out and just against Las Vegas and absolutely just dominate. Now, Vegas thinks that Allen's going to be the number 1 quarterback this week. It's going to be the number 1 offense this week. So just looking, the ones I would look at would be Josh Allen. I would look at Stephon Diggs. Gabe Davis actually had more snaps than Stephon Diggs did last week. So I would look at an Allen, a Diggs, a Gabe Davis. This is what's weird because Dalton Kincaid they're both very cheap on DraftKings. Dawson Knox and Dalton Kincaid I'd look at. Then they both had same amount of target shares last week. So Knox actually played more snaps. So looking at that, the players in the Buffalo lineup that I would look at would be Josh Allen, Diggs, Gabe Davis, and both of the tight ends there. I would not really look at Quentin Morris at all. I want nothing to do with him. Flip side of that, if they do think this game's going to be a high-scoring game and maybe Bills' defense gives up points like they did last week, Jimmy Garoppolo, obviously he's in a matchup here, but Buffalo does rank 2nd overall in 1 week against quarterbacks, so that's something to look at. But he is cheap, 5,300 on DraftKings, 70 or 6,700 on FanDuel. Obviously, Josh Jacobs is the number one back there. He rushed. The rush percentage he had was 66%. Going down, I wouldn't use any of the other running backs there. Josh Jacobs would be the one I'd use. Obviously, the wide receivers, I would look at Devontae Adams. Jacoby Myers actually had a really good game last week. He actually had more target percentage than Devontae Adams. So I would look at him. So if I'm stacking Vegas, I would look at Jimmy, Josh Jacobs, Devontae Adams, and Jacoby Myers. Other than that, probably not anything else. I don't really want anything else to do with the Vegas offense right now. Next game is the one that's going to be a very weird. You can see a lot of red here. Joe Burrow so here's the thing. Joe Burrow usually starts off very slow and then picks it up. Now, whether or not it's going to be 2 weeks of going slow, I believe they were 0-2 last year. But again, Joe Burrow, it feels like people are going to be off of him. I think he has a bounce back week. So you could look at him. Then you could look at Joe Mixon, obviously 65% of the rushing percentage last week, and targets. He had third highest amount of targets, tied for third highest amount of targets on the team. So I'm looking at Burrow. I'm looking at Mixon. Obviously, you got to go Chase. He's going to be very high owned. If you want to go lower and you don't want it, so if you make multiple different stacks, I'm okay with that, and that's probably the way to go. Also, don't forget, in the description, we have a DraftKings League, $10 each week. We only had 9 lineups last week. Let's get more than that. It's easy money, guys. Let's go. If you are stacking and you want to go off of Jamar Chase because you think he's going to be highly owned and maybe he goes lower, a T. Higgins, who had almost the same amount of snaps and targets than Chase, would be a cheaper option there. Both sides, he's a cheaper option. You go a little bit lower, probably Tyler Boyd. That's probably as low as I go. Irv Smith Jr., maybe tournaments. Probably about it, though. Baltimore, Lamar Jackson let us down last week. He's super expensive, and he absolutely let us down. And then we got J.K. Dobbins hurt, obviously, so it's going to be a running back by committee, basically. So Gus Edwards, Justice Hill, don't know which one's going to dominate the most. If I'm stacking with Lamar, love me some Zay Flowers. You can see the snap percentages. While he was lower than OBJ on the snap percentages, he was higher. Almost 50% of the targets went to Zay Flowers. Not going to say it's going to happen every single week. People are going to chase this, I understand. But he is $1,000 less than, or $100 less than Bateman on DraftKings, and we could look at that. And Isaiah Likely had 71% of the snaps played, 4% of the targets, did absolutely nothing. Everyone was on Isaiah Likely. Did not work out. If Mark Andrews is back, I think he will be. I'm looking at Mark Andrews. So in this Baltimore offense, I would look at Lamar, Zay Flowers, OBJ, and probably Mark Andrews is there. If you want to go very tournament option, like that'd be Nelson Aguilar, but didn't have any targets last week. OBJ only had 14% of the targets, along with Bateman. So it's very... You don't know what you're going to get. That's the problem with this offense, because if Lamar's off, he might be throwing it. If he's on, he might be running it way more. So that's the problem up and down. And he was the most expensive quarterback on that main slate last week, and it screwed a lot of people over. I'm included. Detroit is the one where, we went with it, and we won the money line bet, one of our best bets of the year. Won $150 off that. They've got a great team. Now, everyone was on Jahmyr Gibbs, while David Montgomery obviously had, as you can see, the most snaps, the most rushing percentages. Jahmyr Gibbs lower here. Now, here's the thing. Jahmyr Gibbs is more expensive on DraftKings by $500. They are claiming they're going to give Jahmyr Gibbs free reign this weekend against the Seattle offense. Now, Seattle's offense was damn near towards the end, the last, against running back last week. So I really like Jahmyr Gibbs here. Feel really confident about him. Love me some Jared Goff. Love me some Jahmyr Gibbs. Love me the sun god here, Amon-Ra St. Brown. But the problem is St. Brown is projected to be the highest owned player on DraftKings this week. That is something to think about. Love me some Sam Laporta, go Iowa, tight end U. So yeah, if I'm looking in here, I'm looking at Jared Goff. I feel like everyone's going to be on David Montgomery because of what he did last week. I'm kind of feeling Jahmyr Gibbs over him. Then I would look at Amon-Ra St. Brown. I would look at Josh Reynolds a little bit and Sam Laporta. Seattle side, which, like I said last week, I don't know what Geno we're going to get. Didn't do the best last week. Trying to see what he did. I can't quite remember. I'm on a laptop right now trying to do this, so that's why the screen's smaller. That's why I'm not able to show everything on the screen, so I do apologize. Next week will be better. Yeah, Geno Smith was 6,100 last week, and he only got 9.1 fantasy points as your quarterback. If you had him, let me know, because I guarantee you didn't win anything with him. But will he have a good start against Detroit? I don't know. They went up against Patrick Mahomes last week, so they are dead last against the quarterback. So that bodes well for Geno. Kenneth Walker, what are we going to get out of Kenneth? Don't really know, but he ran a ton. As long as he's healthy, I think Kenneth is going to be an option for you. I would stay away from Charbonnet and DJ Dallas. I would, obviously, if you're going with Geno, you want to get him with Metcalf or Lockett. And then Noah Fant didn't do anything last week, let a lot of people down. I'm probably staying away from the tight ends here. I'd probably look at these top three in if you're stacking those top three wide receivers, and that's probably it in this game here. As you can see, Detroit also ranked 30th against the wide receiver, even though all of Patrick Mahomes' wide receivers last week couldn't catch a ball. Next game, we got Tennessee and the Chargers. Like we said, just looking at this, Tennessee, I wouldn't use Ryan Tannehill. Did not do well last week. He had 3 interceptions. I would stay away from him. Honestly, I think the only option, maybe Derrick Henry and maybe DeAndre Hopkins, but the problem is DeAndre Hopkins is super expensive, considering last week. He is questionable right now, has an ankle problem. He did have 13.5 fantasy points last week. He had 7 receptions for 76 or 65 yards, but that was it. Man, if I'm using anyone, it might be Henry and Hopkins as a one-offs, and that's it for that offense. And then the Chargers offense, Eckler, now he is doubtful. He's listed as doubtful, but he came out on his podcast and said he might be playing. So here's the problem. So if you don't know, Austin Eckler loves fantasy football. He loves his fans, and he is usually completely upfront and tells his listeners on his podcast or his people who own him in fantasy, you're going to be okay this week. Or I would, and when he's out, he's always told his fans, I would look for other options, or however he says it. This week he came out and said that his fans will be fine. So that leads me to believe this doubtful mark means nothing, and he's still going to play. Obviously, last week he's coming off a fantastic game. We had him everywhere. 29.4 fantasy points on DraftKings, had 117 rushing yards and 47 receiving yards. So, I mean, he's good. If he's in, he's good. I think a lot of people are going to pivot to Josh Kelly. I honestly think Eckler plays. We'll obviously monitor that going up. This is one of the early games, so we should know something before kickoff, so that will help. So in this, I would use Justin Herbert. I would use Austin Eckler, make sure he is in there. Keenan Allen played 90% of the snaps last week, had 29% of the targets, had the most amount of targets of anyone on the team. I would be stacking Herbert, Allen, and Eckler together. That's probably it on this team. If you want to go a little bit lower, Josh Palmer, but he really didn't do much, I don't believe. Yeah, 1 reception for 4 yards. So if I'm taking the Chargers, I'm looking at Herbert, I'm looking at Eckler, Keenan Allen, maybe a little bit of Mike Williams, and that's basically it for this because everyone was also on Gerald Everett, and he really didn't do anything either. So those would be the players I use in the Chargers. Tampa Bay, we saw what they did. Baker Mayfield, he's not a bad quarterback. He's only 5,100 on DraftKings and 6,800 on FanDuel. The problem is who's going to get the receptions here. So we could see that Chris Godwin played more snaps than Mike Evans, but Mike Evans had more target share. So Looking at this, I'm looking at Baker Mayfield. If I were to stack against him or with him, it would be Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. I don't know what's going to happen with the running back situation. I do know that the Bears are bad against the run. They got dominated by Aaron Jones last week, so they're really bad in 1 week. If Rachaad White is in, he's a cheaper option. I don't know how much exposure I'll actually have to Tampa Bay at all this week. Then we look at Chicago. Everyone had high hopes for Justin Fields in week 1. For whatever reason, preseason he was getting a lot of MVP hype. I just think Vegas was pumping something to, I guess, get free money because there's no way he makes it. Last week he had 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 216 yards, and 16.5 fantasy points on DraftKings. Honestly, and Chase Claypool might be a healthy scratch. It looks like he's just given up on football. I wouldn't look at him. Honestly, I don't know if I'll have any exposure to Chicago offense. I really don't. I think I'm probably off of the Chicago offense. And that's basically it. I don't want much to do here. If I'm doing anything, it's Tampa Bay. But this is a game where I just feel... where are they? It's a 41 over. It's not even a high over-under. I'm probably avoiding this game. Probably. Yeah, so next week I'm going to put like Vegas numbers here, so it's a lot easier to see. So if you guys do like this, comment. Let me know if you like this matchup tool. So here we go. We got Jacksonville hosting Kansas City. Patrick Mahomes, this is my problem. Travis Kelce will be back, so that is a plus. I do like Patrick Mahomes as a stack because I like this game stack. Both of these quarterbacks, I think this could be a high-scoring game. Vegas thinks this is a high-scoring game. They think this is going to be a over-under of 51, so the highest-scoring game of the week is this. I could see multiple touchdowns in this game. I am going to be sports betting. I'm going to be taking Kelce. I wouldn't be surprised if Kelce gets 2+ touchdowns today. That will be something I look at. You know what I might do? I might go ahead and do a touchdown parlay of Travis Kelce 2+ touchdowns and Calvin Ridley 2+ touchdowns. Feeling confident, like throw a $5 on it. It's going to be probably a high-priced one. So that's kind of what I like. But here's the thing. It's Patrick Mahomes. You can't really trust the rushing here. We don't know Pacheco, McKinnon, Edwards-Helaire. We saw Sky Moore play 69% of the snaps last week, 8% of the targets. He did nothing with it. Kadarius Toney, he is talking more crap online, and he doesn't have anything to back it up. He talked trash to the Giants team. He turned back on his Instagram account just to talk trash to Giants for getting murdered, and then he talked trash to Pat McAfee. Like, the guy's crazy. He's not showing anything. That's the problem. Like, they didn't do anything. He only was on the field for 24%. He dropped everything. It's really, honestly, Patrick Mahomes. He's going to find that one wide receiver that he feels confident about. It could be a Jerick McKinnon getting runs here. You can see there's a lot of low ownership in this Kansas City team. You're going to see high ownership with Kelce. But honestly, if you're going with Mahomes, I think you have to stack him with Kelce. And then if you want to figure out what running back situation there's, that's what I would look at. So I'm going to be stacking the hell out of this game. Just looking at this, I love Trevor Lawrence. I love what he brings to the table. I would look at Trevor Lawrence. I would look at Calvin Ridley. Even Zay Jones played 88% of the snaps last week, had 21% of the targets. Calvin Ridley had 34%. So if you think it's going to be Zay Jones for 2 touchdowns, that's perfectly fine. If you think it's going to be 1 for Jones, 1 for Ridley, 1 for ETN, that's fine too. I wouldn't go down any further with wide receivers, and I wouldn't maybe Evan Ingram. If you're going to go with a full Jacksonville stack, it would be a Trevor Lawrence, ETN, probably Calvin Ridley, and Evan Ingram is what I'd look at there. But I will be all over this game here. I think a lot of people will, but I'll be all over the Kansas City-Jacksonville game. This is the game where I'm a little bit, I don't know. Indy outside, we saw what Anthony Richardson did. He left hurt, but he came back. Zach Moss is going to be back. Deion Jackson played 50 or 70% of the snaps, had 50% of the rushes, and didn't do anything with it. Zach Moss is going to be back. I think I would rather take him. He's cheaper on DraftKings than Deion Jackson. So I would look at Richardson, Moss, And it just really depends on what wide receivers we're going to get out of here. And this is always the thing. They always have a ton of tight ends on this team. Probably would, I don't know. Kylan Granson had the most, and then Mo Alex Cox had second. So just kind of looking at this, I might be avoiding this. I don't know if I'll have much in this game. Flip side of this, as of Friday, C.J. Stroud had an injury designation. Let's see, with a shoulder, I believe. So yeah, Stroud had been off the Texans injury report all week until he was added Friday with a shoulder issue. If he doesn't go, it would be Davis Mills or Case Keenum, and it's probably Davis Mills if C.J. Stroud doesn't go. I don't really like much to do with this Houston lineup. I'm probably avoiding this game. I'm probably avoiding most of these players in here. If I'm going with, honestly, I'm probably avoiding this game altogether. There's not much I like. Zach Moss here, Pittman, Richardson, that's basically it. And I don't want much to do with Houston as a team. Total. San Francisco is here against the Rams. We got Brock Purdy. We've got Matt Stafford. Depending on what you're going to get, I probably don't mind another San Francisco sack. It went off for us last week. Purdy, Christian McCaffrey absolutely dominated. He's going to dominate every time until he's hurt, but we have Christian McCaffrey ranked number 1 running back this week for a good reason. He's got a fantastic matchup here. As you can see, the Rams ranked 19th against the running back position. I love McCaffrey here. It would be a Brock Purdy, McCaffrey, George Kittle type stack if I'm stacking. I don't know if I will, but that's what it would be. Rams-wise, Matt Stafford dominated. Then Puka Nakiao came in. Everyone was not on him. Everyone was on everybody else on that team, basically. But now he has an injury designation. Don't know if that means anything. That's the problem. That's the one thing about NFL. You don't know. It's an oblique injury. They do expect him to play, though. I think he's going to be super high owned, 17% owned, basically. He's not 100%, but if I'm using Stafford, I'm probably using him with Akers and Puka and maybe a little bit of Higbee. That would be the stack there. Not saying I'm gonna stack Matt Stafford, but that would be kind of what I look at in this game. But don't sleep on San Francisco's defense. Don't sleep on them at all. This is the one we don't know what's going to happen. Giants versus Arizona. Daniel Jones, obviously nothing was going right for them against the Cowboys last week. Barkley didn't see much because, they were down so much. He wasn't really involved in the running game, so his ownership was down. Could be down again this week, just looking at this. If you are going, it would be Daniel Jones. Saquon Barkley is getting involved more in the passing game, so that's extra points for us, and especially on DraftKings. You can get that there. So I'd be looking at that. I'd be looking at Daniel Jones in this offense, Saquon Barkley, maybe a little bit of Darius Slayton and Paris Campbell. Darren Waller is injured, and it sounds like he's just going to be playing with it all year. It's the same injury that put him on the injured reserve last year. He had hamstring and rest, and I guess he doesn't actually have an injury designation going into here. He didn't do much last week. 6.6 fantasy points. They lost 40-0. So Darren Waller would be another one. But don't be surprised. He takes one bad hit or turns wrong on the field, and that hamstring is done, and he's out. So he is a ticking time bomb, basically. But as you can see, Arizona ranked dead last on DraftKings against tight ends in week 1. Arizona side, I don't want much to do here. You want to go very contrarian. I think a lot of people will be off of Josh Dobbs because they were supposed to be tanking, and they were supposed to be just god-awful. And then last week, Dobbs only went, against Washington, he had 3 fantasy points. 3 points at 4,600. And now they have him at 5,000. So I want nothing to do with this. I don't want anything to do with the Arizona. Probably all year there'll be nothing to do with the Arizona offense at all. I wouldn't even look at I don't trust James Conner. I don't trust Keontae Ingram. Marquise Brown, I don't trust. Yeah, I mean, if you want to go cheap, Michael Wilson, okay, at 3,300 because he played 90% of the snaps. But again, it's 1 week. You kind of need about 4 weeks under the belt to kind of see the snap percentage, how confident you feel. So I'm probably off of Arizona completely. Jets at Dallas. This would be a very contrarian one because everyone and their mom is going to be on Dallas defense because of what they did last week. And then off of the Jets because of what happened to Rodgers, and it's Zach Wilson's team now. So looking into this, I think this could be a contrarian under-the-radar type stack because of how good the Cowboys defense is. I'm not saying it's going to work out, but if it does, you would be well over the field, and you are bringing home the bacon completely if a Jets stack works out. So obviously a Zach Wilson I would look at. We saw Dalvin Cook out-snap Breece Hall by a considerable amount. Snaps, rush, and target. Garrett Wilson played 92% of the snaps last week. Same thing with Zach Wilson. They played the exact amount of snaps once Rodgers went out hurt. So it'd be Wilson, Cook, Garrett Wilson. That's probably it. Tyler Conklin maybe, but I'm probably just looking at Wilson, Cook, and the other Wilson. Flip side of that, we know what we're getting out of Dallas. It's Dak. But the thing is, the Jets' defense is pretty good. I would look at Dak. I would look at Tony Pollard. He did have a fumble last week, though. He's going to be high-owned this week. I would pair them with CeeDee Lamb. I believe Brandon Cooks has is he hurt still? Or he was like Thursday. Let's see. Questionable with a knee. So he missed 3 straight practices. He did sprain his MCL in the opener, so it probably was overshadowed because it was 40-0. They didn't really need him. I would probably stick away from Cooks. I would look at Prescott, Pollard, Lamb, Gallup, and that's basically it for what I would do here. Washington at Denver. I really don't know what to expect out of Sam Howell. Everyone was on him in week 1. 17.2 fantasy points was really good at 4,900. He's now 5,400, so he's up there. But you could be looking at him. The problem is with the running backs, while Brian Robinson had a really good week 1, it could be Antonio Gibson week 2 instead. Like that's the problem with like 2 really good running backs on a team. If you are stacking, I would go Howell, McLaren, Jahan Dotson. A little cheaper would be Curtis Samuel. That's basically it. I don't trust very many other wide receivers. Logan Thomas is out there, but I don't think he did much last week. Let's see. 8.3. That's not bad for 3,200. But still, you'd obviously want double digits out of all of your players. So that would be I wouldn't really trust anyone else in that Washington offense. And then flip side of that, Denver. What Denver team, what are we going to get? Is Russ cooking? Is he not cooking? Is he riding? Like, the fact that he's fallen so bad. Had 177 yards last week, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, 15.2 fantasy points, and a QBR of 107.97, so not bad. Obviously, it would be him. Cortland Sutton. Is Judy out now? Again, I mean. As of now, Jerry Jeudy does not have an injury designation. He practiced on Thursday and Friday. He could be an option. People might be off of him because he didn't do anything last week. His ownership is down like 2%-ish. That could be a sneaky one. Russell Wilson, Jeudy. Might be the dumbest name I've ever seen. Close to the top. That'd probably be it, though. Maybe Javonte Williams. So Russell Wilson, Javonte, Jerry Jeudy, and Cortland Sutton would be the offense I'd look at for Denver. Miami at New England. What are we going to see? We saw New England defense give up 16 points to Jalen Hurts and the Eagles in week 1 in the first quarter. Then they kind of came back, and it was back and forth. But Tua had obviously the best week last week. I think a lot of people will be on Tua and Tyreek Hill, which is fine. But if you look at this, if everyone's double teaming Tyreek at the same amount of snap percentages last week, and you can save $1,400. I love Jalen Waddle this week. Tua and Jalen, I'm all over. I don't think I really want much to do with the run game here. I'm kind of pivoting to Jalen because of how expensive, and everyone will be on Tyreek Hill. Don't be surprised if Jalen Waddle has a Tyreek Hill type game this week. Flip side of that, New England had a really good game against the Eagles. Eagles defense was supposed to be better. I would look at Mac Jones. I would look at the problem is there's something going on with Juju and them already. It's really weird. I don't know what's going on, but something's happening. I would probably stay away from him. Look at maybe Kendrick Bourne. I would look at Kendrick Bourne. The running back game's going to be a little off, but Ramon Stevenson I would look at. You can see on DraftKings that Miami's defense wasn't really doing much against the running back position. They were even worse against the wide receiver last week, and they were even worse they're ranked 30th against the tight end. So I would kind of like a Mac Jones, Stevenson, Kendrick Bourne, and Hunter Henry type stack in this game. But I'll have exposure to both of these games, or both of these teams. We got New Orleans versus Carolina. We kind of saw what they did. Taysom Hill, I wouldn't look at. It would be Derek Carr, I would look at. Michael Thomas actually played 80% of the snaps in week 1, 24% of the targets. So I don't mind that. Jimmy Graham, I still keep forgetting that Jimmy Graham is on this team again. Cheaper option at tight end at $2,500. I would look at Derek Carr. I would look at Michael Thomas. I would look at Olave, and I would look at Jimmy Graham as a cheaper option at $2,500. It'd be more of like a punt there. Carolina, not much. I don't really like much here. Thielen played 88% of the snaps last week, had 6% of the targets. It all went to Hayden Hurst. So if you're going Bryce Young, it'd be Hayden Hurst. Maybe Miles Sanders. That's it. I don't really like much there, to be honest. And these are Monday night games anyway. This isn't even the main slate. And then Cleveland, we saw what they did last week. It would go Deshaun Watson. I would look at DPJ here. You want to go a little bit different. Elijah Moore would be up there. Amari Cooper. I believe Amari Cooper has an injury designation. I just read something. Let me check real quick. Oh, hold on. I'm trying to think, right? I think something just came out before I started this video. Let me double check. Amari Cooper questionable. Yep. He's questionable for Monday's game against Steelers after aggravating a groin injury. That's right. So I don't even know if he's going to be in. Again, it's a Monday night, so the slate you would use if you're playing Sunday and Monday, I'm okay with that. Again, though, you kind of get screwed out. I kind of like a Monday slate. Now, with 2 games on a Monday, I believe there's probably the 2-game Monday slate. Yeah, Monday on DraftKings at least they have a 2-game Monday slate, so you won't get screwed over by setting your lineups and then getting screwed if like Amari Cooper's out. If I'm using here, it'd be Deshaun Watson, it'd be Nick Chubb, Elijah Moore, and DPJ. I would look at David Njoku, but he didn't do much for us last week. And then Pittsburgh, yeah, their offense looked absolutely terrible. I wouldn't be surprised if this is just an absolute bust for Pittsburgh and Cleveland absolutely dominates them on defense. I'm probably staying away from Pittsburgh as a whole anyway. So there you have it. There's the breakdown. If you guys like this, like you do the MLB, let me know. But that being said, other stacks that I like I said, Trevor Lawrence and Patrick Mahomes, I think with the 51 over-under, I'm all over that game completely. Other stacks, Josh Allen with the guys I mentioned, Daniel Jones, because I think everyone will be off of Daniel Jones. Lamar Jackson, just because of how bad Cincy's defense was last week. I'm okay with that. That's more of a tournament. And Joe Burrow on the other side, I think that's more of a tournament as well. And then very tournament-oriented, Geno Smith against Detroit, because Detroit's defense gave up a lot against Kansas City. Justin Herbert versus Tennessee, and Baker Mayfield versus the Bears, because we saw what Jordan Love was able to do against the Bears defense, and Baker Mayfield, as of now, is a better quarterback than Jordan Love in this time in their career. So that is the breakdown. We have a ton of information there. If you haven't already checked out all the info, go to NFL tab. We got the projected ownership. We got the player projections. We got the NFL points allowed. We got our Vegas. We got our cheat sheet. I'm still working on the cheat sheet. The Bacon Station is the matchup tool. We've got our chalk, which you can go check that out. We'll be updating the wide receiver versus cornerback matchups, and we'll be updating the NFL prop bets throughout the day and early tomorrow. So good luck on week 2. Comment down below what some of your favorite stacks and favorite plays on both FanDuel and DraftKings is. So good luck, and as always, let's bring home some bacon. Peace!